Lanny McDonald, first and foremost, the big question, how are you feeling?
You know what? I feel like the luckiest guy. I feel stronger each and every day. I walk 5-6 miles a day, starting to work out again. And thank goodness there were a couple nurses and a policeman very close to me when I sadly went down for the count and helped save my life.
So take me back. It's February 4th. You're on your way back from the All-Star weekend in Toronto. You land in Calgary, as you've done thousands of times before, probably. You step off the jet bridge and you make it to the terminal. And then what?
I only make it about 200 feet down in the terminal. And I felt nothing, like no chest pains, no arm pain, anything. My legs got kind of rubbery, and I called to Ardell and said, like, I need a chair. And she just turned towards me, and I went down for the count. And fortunately, there were good people around. They rolled me over, started CPR. And as the doctor said, 5 minutes before on the plane or in the parking lot, probably I had no chance. And to have it happen in the terminal was probably the luckiest place I could have actually had the incident. And I get to talk to you today, Frank.
And I'm so thankful for that. I'm sure Ardell and your entire family are as well. And you're, just having it all kind of happen exactly like that. Ardell described it so wonderfully. She was saying you're on your way to heaven at that point. Yeah. And as they're trying to work on you, I'm sure what a scene that must have been for her to witness. But just in terms of the expertise being right around you, nurses, a first responder, I mean, A, what are the odds? And B, the work that they did. I mean, Lanny, you're a big guy. You've been an athlete and you're in good shape, but to work on you, like, I'm sure it took some effort and some force.
Well, it really did take some force. In fact, my dear wife asked the policeman, do you have to do it that hard? And he said, if I'm going to save him, yes, I do. And he broke my sternum, broke my ribs, but he saved my life. And Ardell, she's expanded that story on the way to heaven. I got 3/4 of the way there, and she said they rejected me and sent me back. So I must have some work to do, so I'll figure out what that is and keep going.
Okay, so when do you wake up the next day? When do you come to?
You know what? I came to for a few minutes in the emergency room. I remember very little of the next 4 days. I had brother and sister-in-law and my other sister-in-law come to visit my kids. It's so sketchy. And then 4 days later had the quadruple bypass. And then basically I remember everything after that. So it was kind of 4 days. Where the heck did that go to? But I'm here, happy. And like I said, back walking 5-6 miles a day and feeling great.
Well, you're walking circles around me. Just for anyone listening that might, be thinking, hey, what does this mean for me? No symptoms at all for you beforehand? Never any reason? Obviously, you're in shape. Any reason to think that something might be up?
Not at all. I walked like that each and every day before the incident happened, and there was no indication, but it also tells you whether you're a man or a woman, get checked every so often. Make sure that you're on top of your health. Obviously, I've had numerous checkups since then, but sometimes you take it for granted. I always felt like I was in great shape, have 4 kids, 8 grandkids, so I don't want to get run over by them. So I walk and play golf and play with them all the time, thinking I'm just fine. And then the cardiac arrest happened, and it quickly changed in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm. Quite literally in a heartbeat. Have you had a chance to meet the people who helped save you?
I have not. I have talked to them on the phone. The nurse who was headed for Hawaii and helped actually save my brain, and then the policeman who has been in courses for the last 2 weeks, I text back and forth with them, and my daughter has met him twice for coffee, and we're scheduled to meet next week. I can't wait to meet him. The lady nurse who is from Saskatchewan wants no credit. Please don't mention my name, but I've invited her back to Calgary, or if I'm ever in Saskatchewan, I will drive to meet you so I can have dinner with you. It's been great getting to know her, and pretty cool. One of her comments was, it's great to hear your voice. Her husband was a hockey fan, but she had no idea who she was saving at that time. She just jumped in to try and help make a difference.
That's really kind of the beauty of humanity, right? I think we go through life, Lanny, especially in 2024 and the world that we live in. It feels so divisive at times. Different people have different opinions on different things. And, even when it comes to something as simple as watching a hockey game on social media, and the vitriol that exists out there. And then I think you see things in real life, and you see the beauty in people that they're willing to step in and help a complete stranger. That woman doesn't know that she's helping Lanny McDonald, Calgary icon and hockey icon. She's just helping the same way she would any other person that she comes across. And
she was not on duty. Her and her husband are headed for a holiday. The policeman, I can say his name, Jose, had no idea who I was, not a hockey fan. We joke about it now. His fellow police officers joke with him, for gosh sake, you didn't even know you saved Lanny. And he now knows who I am, partly because of doing a little research. But again, there it is. They're just doing their job, and I cannot thank them enough.
Do you have an overarching emotion? I know you mentioned how thankful you are, but just the second crack that you have here at, you said you maybe feel like you still have something left to do and accomplish here, aside from spoiling your grandkids and spending time with your family. But what emotion, you go through something like that, what do you feel?
It is extremely emotional. For the first 6 weeks afterwards, to even talk about it would bring me to tears, because it is so emotional. And the fact that you do get a second or a third chance to be able to help make a difference somewhere down the road, whether it's with my own grandkids, kids, or charities that our alumni in Calgary is so great at supporting. And yeah, I like I said before, I just feel like the luckiest guy you could possibly imagine.
Mm-hmm. So what, in terms of day-to-day, as chairman of the Hockey Hall of Fame, you have 1.5 years left on your term. You're going to see that through. What is the day-to-day like for Lanny McDonald?
I'm either on a phone call or Zoom call with Jeff Denemy, our president. We've had board meetings. I flew to Toronto, actually, my first flight back to Toronto last week or just before the playoffs started, and we had a fun fundraiser with 8 of our top clients, and they all got to invite 7 of their top clients, and we put a Hall of Famer at each table. They got to pick 8 guys in the playoffs. Sadly, the team I was helping out, we had too many Tampa Bay players, and it's not looking good for our team right now, although we are tied for the lead for a while. But that's kind of day to day. It's been so much fun being back in it after really not doing anything for 6 weeks. And they held the fort while I was gone. I look forward to the next year and a half, not quite a year and a half. But if you love the game and love the history of the game, as chairman of the hall, it has been such a blessing. I have loved every second of it.
So for people who haven't had a chance to get to the hall, or for people that haven't been recently, just, give us a thought or two on what the hall is up to, and also the support that the hall really needs to sustain itself. There were a couple rough years, I'm sure, with COVID. You had to close the hall to the public for a while. But the hall is this beautiful, living, breathing, organization that needs lifeblood. They get a lot of support, of course, from the NHL and various constituencies and sponsors, but they need people to also pop in and see it, right?
Well, we really do, and thank you very much for bringing that up. We have had a record year, not only from the hospitality standpoint, but we host probably 300 events a year in the Great Hall, or some companies rent out the entire hall for an evening. And it's a fabulous place for people to come and just enjoy themselves. There's all kind of interaction. You can try your skills as a goalie, or be the best shooter possible, and meet the top or beat the top goalies in the league, and then go to the international zone, or check out all the displays of all the masks, which is one of my favorite. And it takes you all the way back to Jacques Plante and where it all started and how far they've come. But you could spend probably 3 full days in the hall and not see everything. And we always are very thankful when the Maple Leafs are in the playoffs, or all through the year, and the Blue Jays have a great year, because we fall right into that category where if they're in town, okay, they're going to come to the hall too. And we very much appreciate it and hope people just keep coming back. What you see in the hall is probably only about 20%, maybe not even that, of everything, all the memorabilia we have at the Resource Center. And we keep changing it around every 3 or 4 months, so that if people are there in 6 months' time, they see a tremendous amount of different memorabilia. The international zone and women's hockey is a fabulous way to come into the hall and see exactly where the game is at and where we're headed.
That's a great reminder, and I have my minor hockey team actually coming to Toronto for a tournament in July, and I can't wait to bring the kids there so they can experience that for the first time, because the looks on their faces when they walk in there's nothing really like it. So can't wait for that, and Hall of Fame weekend, the gala, just a chance to walk through and see it and breathe it in, it's an amazing weekend. So can't wait for that. But wanted to ask you specifically, the Stanley Cup is over your right shoulder, and you are a Stanley Cup trustee. Is that correct?
Yes, I am, and very proud of it. you know what? It's
Tell
great.
everyone what that means.
Well, you are actually one of the guardians of the cup, and in the past, Brian O'Neill and Scotty Morrison were in the past, and fortunately, they asked if I would consider taking over for Scotty, and I was absolutely honored, thrilled, kind of speechless to be one of the guardians of the cup and to have it right over my shoulder. And it's pretty cool because this year it's the 35th anniversary of us winning the Stanley Cup in Montreal. And in a month's time, there's only 3 of the players from 89, it looks like, will not be here for the 35th anniversary. And the couple will be here for a day, and it'll be a great celebration all over again, and we can't wait.
So when you're a trustee and a guardian of the cup, do you have any duties or roles assigned? Like, what is, like, I don't even think most people, even casual or even hardcore observers of the game, realize that the Stanley Cup is property of the Hockey Hall of Fame, not the National Hockey League.
That is so true, and we want to protect it at all costs. Wherever it is, whatever challenge comes up, we want to be front and center and make sure that it is always protected, both physically and I guess, for a better term, through the legal system, that it is always property of the Hall and the National Hockey League.
And financially too. I mean, it takes some might to get the cup where it's going. I was in Nashville last week at their playoff games against the Vancouver Canucks. I saw the cup on Lower Broadway there. The cup is everywhere when it comes to the playoffs.
Well, it really is, and that's the way it should be. When you're fighting like crazy to have the opportunity to win the cup, and all of a sudden it's in your city. If you can't get up for that next game, there is something wrong with you. That's what brings people together. And sometimes just seeing the cup is enough to make you take that extra hit along the boards, or fight to get that puck out over the blue line, or you take that hit in the corner to get the puck out front so your teammate can score. That's what the cup is all about.
Mm-hmm. I'm a Philadelphia native, and one of my favorite sayings in all of sports, for the test of time, is the quote from Fred Sherrow: "Win today, we walk together forever." You mentioned 35 years ago, 1989, and the anniversary with the Calgary Flames, but we had a brief conversation a couple days ago before we did the pod, and you had mentioned, hey, there was one time, we have some snow now in Calgary, and there was a snowstorm in 1986, and I was struck by your memory, and I wanted to know, like, when you watch the playoffs now, when you think back to your run in 1989, are there just different memories that hit you all the time? How often does it come up in your mind?
When you're watching the playoffs, it is always there. You think about the first series we had against Vancouver, and you go to Game 7 and it goes to overtime, and Mike Vernon, who just got inducted into the Hall of Fame last year, makes 3 saves. Stan Smeel on the breakaway, Tony Tanti, and Patrick Skriko on the one-timers, all in overtime, to allow Poplinski and Otto to go to the other end and score the big goal. And if he doesn't make those saves, we don't even possibly ever win the cup. And that's how fine a line it is. 7th game overtime, and we finally get to go back to Montreal after beating LA and Chicago, go to Montreal and find a way to win in the form in Game 6. And we desperately didn't want to come back to Calgary to win it. We would have loved to have won it in front of our fans, but to take the chance on Patrick Waugh, who was the MVP in '86, come back to Calgary and steal a game. And thank goodness, in that game, Mike Vernon stood tall, even though he says he's 6'1". Okay, maybe
no way.
5'7", 5'8" max.
Yeah, if Mike Vernon is 6'1", I'm 140 pounds.
And for him to play or even outplay Patrick in that final game in Montreal and be the only team to ever win on form ice, that is the coolest thing you could possibly imagine.
I'd imagine it's almost as cool as being able to, see the cup and find your name and touch it and feel the engraving. I mean, does it ever get old?
It never gets old. My dad, I remember having the party here in Calgary. We live outside of town on an acreage, 4 acres, so we could have as much fun and be as loud as possible. And my dad sitting in our family room, rubbing, just like you said, his fingers over the name, because on the cup it's listed L. McDonald, and his name was Lorne. And so it was like a generation apart, but that's where I got this love of the game and love of sport. And hockey was from my dad. And so it was pretty cool, just like you said, to see your name on the cup.
I'm glad you said that, because I haven't really ever put that part together in terms of how many fathers and sons there might be that share exactly that same bond where, the initials or first letter might be the same or even the same name, that it's a singular, it's a team accomplishment, but it's singular in the sense that but you also share it with your family, every part of it, every step along the way.
Well, they have to make so many sacrifices along the way. For a mom and dad to drive you to town when you're too young to drive yourself, and drop you off, cheer you on all through minor hockey, and then come watch you play junior or in college, and then your own kids and dear wife who support you all the way through and have to be patient when dad has to go on the road. It is a family affair, and you don't win it as an individual. You win it as this great big team. And that 35th anniversary, there are parts of it that always includes our wives, and other parts of it that includes all of our families and grandkids. And that's the coolest part.
What a beautiful thing. Lanny, you had certainly some life-saving assists from some really good citizens and people on February 4th. I wanted to leave you with this. Hockey's been such a big part of your life. You've played such a big role in the game. What about the way the hockey world has lifted you up and supported you since your incident? Just the salute from fans and what all of that has felt like.
It has been unbelievable, and quite frankly, it kept me going in the hospital. I would guess I had close to 1,000 emails and text messages that took me probably the next 5 weeks to get back to everyone. And thank goodness a lot of people said, we know you're busy. We know you're recovering. Don't bother writing back. We just wanted to say hello and wish you well. There were so many fantastic messages along the way that through the tough times in those first 2 weeks in the hospital, when your family or the nurses had to roll you out of bed because you couldn't roll over because of the incisions, I will be forever grateful to that hockey family that still keeps you going and makes me smile each and every day. And watching the playoffs is probably the best therapy you could possibly ever have.
Yeah, it's got to be a bit of an odd feeling as well to kind of get all those messages and shows of support, almost feeling like you're living your funeral. But the amazing part about that is that, A, you know how much you're loved, and B, you know how much people really care about you, and you now get a chance to say thank you. So I say thank you to you, Lanny. It was such a great honor to speak with you, and always great to connect. Your story is incredible, and we're so glad you're here to tell it.
Well, thank you very much. In the playoffs, keep traveling safe, and may the best team win.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.